That looks frozen. Okay. There we go. Okay, do you have screen sharing? Do you have the screen sharing panel that you can put these in? I can hear stuff. Okay, I'm waiting. Oh, there we go. Right. So let's take a look at your virtual window, your virtual box. Okay. Okay, so that's your virtual box. Okay. And can you open it up to full screen or no? Okay. Okay. Hi, Ellis. Right now we're looking at your brother's screen share. It what? Okay, open it up all the way. Okay, wait. Okay, open up the virtual machine window. Okay. Nope. Okay. So type in, yeah. Okay. Enter. Okay. Ah, interesting. Okay, so I saw Anki. Okay. Yeah, yes, try installing it again. But Ellis, did you have the same problem? Hmm. 211 updates. That's a lot of updates. Well, let's see what happens with Cyrus's installation, and then I can recommend reinstalling it for you. Okay, let's try this. Okay, yeah. Click on the application menu, and in the lower left-hand corner. Yeah, type in terminal. Okay, now type in Anki. So type this in. I'm gonna kill all Anki. KILLALL. One word. One word. Okay, now type in, yeah. No. Click OK. Okay, hit enter. Alright, Control C. Oh, wait. Okay. Alright. I will... Let's look at it again after class. Fair enough? Okay. Okay. Well... Okay, so let's take a look at the homework. Aside from Anki, or Anki, were you able to install LeafPad? Okay. And you installed Chromium? Okay. What about your hobbies? Were you able to find some sort of software related to your hobby? Tell me about it. Okay. Anything else? Because I know we did that at the end of last class. Okay. And that's working no problem? Okay. Okay. Alright, and as far as updating your out-of-date software, not so much, but every time you do log into your virtual machine, do take a look and see if there are updates that you can perform, just to keep things from getting too slow. Okay. So we discussed programs that you're already familiar with, and that they are available in general, the programs that we were looking at. Now let's take a look at alternate programs that we might be familiar with in the real world. And for this, it's actually very interesting. So I did a little bit of research on this, and for all the people that I asked about what software they absolutely have to use, which, by the way, is going to be part of your homework coming up. So I really didn't get many answers aside from the browser, which was into the browser and Microsoft Word. And I said, well, besides word processor and spreadsheet, what do you need? And they're like, well, I do this and this, and I'm like, yeah, but that's all online. What actual software do you use? Okay, so we're gonna look at a lot of names of software, do a little bit of investigating for the software, okay, so let's get started. Okay, well, so you remember open source is software that's freely available to the public, including source code, that, especially the source code, so that people can look at the software, make improvements, and in certain cases even duplicate the software and improve on it, which has been done. It's typically called something like forking or porting. Well, porting is really to a different operating system, but people who don't like the direction that software is going in will fork the software to... Okay. 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 All right. So the first thing I'm going to look at is, for me. Okay. When I first got into computers, it was in graphic design. It was in editing images and laying out pages. So it's software that I'm very familiar with. A lot of the people who I know who are in computers, many of them are graphic designers, and the common programs for the standard, I should really say, even though I don't like saying it, the standard programs for graphic design are produced by a company called Adobe. And it's become so common that the term Photoshop Photoshop is the name of the software, but Photoshop is now used as a verb to manipulate an image. For better or for worse, that's what it's, when you Photoshop an image, you edit the image. And that's because Photoshop became the standard software for producing images for image manipulation in the world. It's not the only one, but it was really good at what it did, and a lot of software has tried to mimic what Photoshop has done. Now, truth be told, I have not used Photoshop for anything I've needed to do for graphics in ages. Definitely more than 5 years. So when images need to be edited, I don't miss Photoshop, so I use a program called GIMP. And GIMP stands for New Image Manipulation Program. And the icon is the little dog with the brush in its mouth. So it's New Image Manipulation. Okay. Okay, so we were just talking about some softwares for now, so that's fine. Okay, so that's what GIMP stands for. Okay, there's another one called Krita, and if you go into Discover and you do a search for graphics or images or things like that, you will see that there are other programs. These are the more common ones. I happen to like GIMP just because that's the first one that I started using when I was finished with Windows, so I'm very comfortable with it. What's interesting is that my fingers still remember Photoshop. I can't remember Photoshop to save my life, but my fingers have absolutely no problem. I still do finger shortcuts. It's pretty funny. But again, it's about choice. It's about your choices. You want to try GIMP and you like it? Great. You don't like it? Great. Move on. Try another one. So those are for editing images. If you have a picture and you want to crop it, edit somebody out, stuff like that. That's what GIMP is good for. That's what editing bitmaps are good for. Okay, so Adobe has a program called Illustrator. Illustrator is for creating vector images. Vector images are described mathematically. So if you remember, I don't know if you've taken geometry yet, but you can describe a square by saying that all you have to do is tell a square, you have to give a dimension for a side, and then no problem. It's the same times 4. So a square is an object with a line drawn around it, a line of x. It's x on each of the 4 sides that defines a square. So a circle has a center and a diameter, and triangle has 3 sides and the angles of the triangles, and it gets more complicated. So rectangles have opposite sides are equal, but they don't have to be equal to each other, and so on and so forth. So what winds up happening is you start describing these things mathematically, and you can actually draw a line or a shape, or what is called a polygon, and all of a sudden you get all sorts of, the sky's the limit with what you do. So you see the logo that Inkscape has. So Inkscape is the analog for Illustrator, where you can take a vector image and you can manipulate it. Now, I'm not going to really go into graphic design. I think there's another course in it. It's also a little bit complicated, but if you're familiar with it, or if somebody says, well, you can't do this in Linux, and you can say, well, no, actually you can. You can do vectors. You can use Inkscape. I'm just saying. Okay, so the third piece of software, the first most common piece of software is for desktop publishing, is layout design, and the standard by Adobe is called InDesign. It used to be called something, actually long time ago, it used to be called Quark Express. It's not anymore. I don't even know if they still make the software. But now InDesign is the Adobe software for laying out a page. So basically, you describe a page, you describe 300 pages if you're writing a book, and then you can, or let's say 100 pages if you're doing a magazine, and then you can design where each element goes, where images go, titles, the colors of the titles, where the paragraphs go. There's an interesting feature in that text flows from one section to another. That's what layout design is. Again, not going into the full what layout design programs do, but in the Linux world, and again, these are the three most common things that graphic designers that I know have to use on a day-to-day basis, and I, as a graphic designer who has also chosen to abandon Microsoft and Apple for that matter, have had no problems. So much so that I actually wrote a cookbook, and professionally I was a chef before I was in computers, and I completely produced a cookbook, a few hundred pages, and recipes and little and vector images, and I did it with Scribus, and I had no problem with it. I sold out. So if you embrace Linux and going forward, and this is what you want to do, where you want to, this is the operating system of choice for you. People will say, well, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. So years and years later, here I am, and there isn't anything I can't do using Linux. 99.5% natively, and 5%, like I described, I had to, when I designed the board game with the cards, I used Wine as an emulator for a program that was only available in a very, very specific program is only available in Windows. So that's my 0.5%. Okay, so that's commonly what I've encountered. So now we go a little bit more into what other people, a wider, more diverse people who are programmers. You use PyCharm. Okay. So there you go. Use brackets. Use brackets on Mac. So it's open source software, meaning that it's free, or it's freely distributed, and it's available for every single operating system: Windows and PC, Windows PC and Mac and Linux. I happen to like brackets also. I try, but true story. I tried Atom. Atom hosed my computer. I have no idea why. I booted it up, and it was just it took me an hour to shut it down. It was crazy. And then I tried Sublime, and I was like, okay, this is not bad. And then I tried Brackets, and it's like, it works fine. So when I need to do code editing, I use Brackets. Before Brackets was around, there's an IDE, there's a full IDE, and I apologize, I should have included Eclipse in it, but sorry, mea culpa. But there is one, and it's called Bluefish, which I thought was kind of, honest truth, I liked Bluefish. I thought it was cute. So I used Bluefish for a while, and it was actually, when I was working with different customers, it allowed me to create different client profiles. So that was, that was how it was useful. Yeah, Bluefish. Yeah, real thing. Okay, so virtual machines. So VirtualBox, created by Oracle, it's the one that we're using. I'm happy with it. It works. VMware is another program, another company out there. They're a little bit more commercial oriented. So there's a VMware player. You can also create a VMware server. Okay, but yes. But for virtual machines, VirtualBox is not the only choice. My point. I mean, what I do is I look for a bunch of things, and then if somebody asks me, I recommend what I feel is the best for, that I've come across. That's my prerogative. If people are asking me my opinion, I'm allowed to give it to them. Okay, so what you'll learn in programming, not so much in this class, but in any of my other programming classes, we're going to learn about Git repositories. It's a place where you can store versions of your code, which is important because if you write code and you blow something up, you want to be able to walk it back. So there's a GUI version for manipulating Git repositories called GitKraken, which I think is also clever. The first version that I downloaded was horrendous. It has since improved significantly. There are other programs for it. I happen to like GitKraken, but if in another programming class, or if when you take a programming class with me, we get up to it, we'll learn about how to save a version locally. You work on a version locally, and then what you do is you save it to the remote Git repository, and it saves it as a version of it. And there's way, if you're working with multiple people, like I was working in an office a while ago, and we were all working on different elements, so it's a way of doing what you need to do without overwriting anybody else's work. Okay, so for programming, do you have any questions about what, in your programming experience, what types of programs you have encountered that that you would be curious if there's a Linux equivalent for, or should I just keep going? Because I talk fast. Okay. All right. I ran out of. Foo. This is the. Okay, I'm switching to screen sharing, and. Hold on a second. Give me 2 seconds. Let me just open up. I knew it. Second. Okay. Okay, so now I just did that. Okay, so now you can see. Okay. Okay, so I just think it's more interesting with the logos, and also, it's logos just a little bit from my professional course in web development. Logos are a way for people to immediately recognize a brand. So it's a visual device, it's a visual mnemonic. So that's why I like putting in the logos, because I want you to be able to, if you're seeing it, I know that you'll associate it with it. Anyway, okay, so now we get to the big stuff, what everybody else on the planet uses, and that is Microsoft Office. Microsoft Office consists of a word processor called Microsoft Word. I don't have to tell you this, you already know this. There's Word and Excel and PowerPoint. Okay, so Microsoft became very rich. Sorry, not to put too fine a point on it. Microsoft became very rich when they released this suite of Office tools together, packaged them together. And since then, other companies, other foundations, whatever, have tried to match the popularity. They're getting there. Microsoft is a commercial, they're a commercial enterprise, so fine, they're in it for the money, and that's fine. These other organizations, they do make money. They make money from donations, but they make money from foundations that help pay them, and so on and so forth. Microsoft also, in a few releases ago, Microsoft messed with the interface. People weren't very happy with it, and they kind of doubled down on it. You can see on the top of the screen sharing that these buttons, this is like the old way that, in this case PowerPoint looked, and they've changed it to what they call the ribbon, something like that. Anyway, I don't like it, so I'm happy with this. Okay, so we're looking at there are three programs. There are four programs. The first one was OpenOffice, and OpenOffice is now controlled by, not owned, but controlled by Apache, which will. No, we're not going to talk. Apache is a web server program. If you have questions, ask me later. OpenOffice then kind of started to stall a little bit, so another group of people took OpenOffice, and like I explained before, they forked it, and they called it LibreOffice. Libre meaning free. And LibreOffice happens to be better now than OpenOffice was, so it has supplanted OpenOffice as the open source standard for the open source standard productivity suite. Okay. KDE, the people that created KDE Neon and all the KDE libraries that help your Linux look the way it looks and behave well, created KOffice, which uses the KDE libraries like DLL files in Windows, or I don't even know what they are in Macs, but the library files are little bits of code that when a program runs, it can access. It doesn't have to build everything from scratch. It uses these libraries to these standard libraries for bits of code. So anyway, that's what KDE is, and they have KOffice, and also Office Suite. I'm happy with LibreOffice, but again, if you want to try KOffice, that is a choice that you can install it. If you like it, wonderful. If you don't like it, alright, trash it, get something else. That's fine, I have no problem with it. Another one, AbiWord, is just a word processor. It's kind of an old one. It actually came around when Microsoft Word was really replacing WordPerfect and an ancient history. But so that's not really a full suite the way. Okay, so talking about the suite, LibreOffice has a bunch of different programs that it comes with. So let me see if I can. Okay, so it comes with Writer, and Writer is a word processor. It comes with Calc, which is I can look at it. Okay, so there's Calc, which is the spreadsheet. LibreOffice Impress is the equivalent of PowerPoint. It's a presentation creator, which is what I create my presentations on. So those are the main ones. LibreOffice Base is a database creator, and that is the equivalent of Access in Microsoft. LibreOffice Draw allows you to it's kind of like a basic drawing program. It's not as complex or it's not as good as GIMP. I try not to use the word good, but it's not as good as GIMP. And they also have like a math module, which I've never had to use because I don't take school math anymore. It's because I don't have to. So that's part of the Office suite as well. I think if you look in, I'm not sure, if you look in your application menu under Office, LibreOffice may already be installed. I don't recall. If it is, great. If not, guess what? It's homework. Okay. All right. So those are the main ones. Those are ones that I know at least one other person that has ever used it. In my experience, I've used other programs, and let's take a look at a few of them. You all with me? Okay. Okay, so guess what? You're going to install it. Okay, so these are some of the other programs that I've used and that I do use, and that these are the things that they do. And this introduces you to a full spectrum of everything that you can imagine doing on a computer. You can do it. This is what Linux can do. Linux can do all these things, and it can do it to your, at your choice, by your choice. Okay, so everybody likes to listen to music. So there's music. You have iTunes on Mac, which is fine, because Apple likes to bundle everything together, and that's great. But for a music player, Amarok is the wolf guy, the wolf logo, and it's a music player. It's a music player like that. You can create playlists and library and stuff like that. Audacity it can actually manipulate the files. So I don't know if you've seen any of the videos that I've done advertising the classes. But so I record my voice in Audacity, I trim it, and I use it as a voiceover track in the video. Again, all open source. This is there is no Windows in my life, thank God. Okay. But it's kind of it's cool if you want to do. Okay, if you had a song and you wanted to create a ringtone from the chorus, of the song, if music even has choruses anymore. I don't know. Some of the stuff my kids listen to. I don't want to talk about it. But what you would do is if you have the MP3 file or WAV file or whatever version of the file you have, you'd open it up in Audacity, and you would like play it until you find the section that you want to cut. You literally copy it, paste it, save it as your ringtone, as an MP3 ringtone or whatever. Put it on your phone and set it to be your ringtone, and that's editing it in Audacity, which I think is cool. Yes, there are also apps that do it, but I don't know. I don't use apps. I use this. All right. Okay. So I've had friends and children and nieces and nephews who have had iPods, and they want to get their music onto an iPod. Now, Apple is very restrictive about how and what type of, how you can get music onto it, and licenses and stuff like that, which is fine. But transferring onto the iPod, if you own the music, you should legally be allowed to put it on. So somebody has gone ahead and written a program that interfaces with the iPod. Now, they didn't do it with Apple's permission, but they did a pretty good job with it. So it's called GTK Pod. Now, GTK is like KDE in that it's a bunch of libraries that work in a particular way. So people who are doing programming can access those libraries where they expect to find them, and be able to call functions or subroutines, whatever we're calling them, and be able to. So they call it GTK Pod because it uses the GTK libraries. And again, if you have an iPod and you move to Linux permanently, which if you want to, I applaud you. You are not restricted. You don't have to then use Wine to open up iTunes. GTK Pod handles it. It does tend to lag behind in terms of models, which means that if you have the latest version, it might not be that GTK Pod can interface with it, and that's a drawback of using software that isn't developed specifically by Apple, is because they're really in charge of the entire experience, so they don't release these things, and the people that work on them have to do a little bit of reverse engineering to figure that stuff out. There's an interesting program. I don't know, are either of you or any of you into music, like DJ style music? Okay. Okay. So if you were going to record yourselves, you record it in Audacity, you might want to find something a little bit more advanced if you're seriously into music. But if you are into DJing, you have a friend that's into DJing, Mix it with the 3 X's is a DJ. It's a DJ deck. It's like with the everything. It's like, I don't know if you know. Okay, so I'm not, but for my youngest son, I just had a bar mitzvah a few months ago, so I set up the music for him. It was a small party, so I set up the music for him in Mix, and it basically worked like a DJ. You have two. I don't remember the words for it, but you basically have 2 decks, and you like cue up the music on one, and then as that's playing, the music cues up on the second one, and as the first one fades out, the second one fades in. It's kind of cool, and you can sort your music collection, and you can again create playlists, or crates is what DJs call them. You can actually have 2 of them, you can have 4 of them, you can have a quad deck, so it's kind of neat. Anyway, I think it's kind of cool that you have that. Yeah, it is. Okay, for watching videos, I like MPV. There are other ones, Dragon Player is another one, but That's the purple one, the purple circle with the arrow. That whole motif of the circle with the triangle arrow is, I don't know, it's getting overplayed, but that's just me. Anyway, so I use MPV to watch video. I've actually compared watching videos. If I'm watching a TV show or something like that, I'll watch it in MPV, and me personally, I think it gives the best picture. But I don't even know what's installed on KD Neon. I'm sure we could look at it, but anyway. Okay, so I mentioned before that I did these advertising videos for my classes for next semester, for this semester, next semester. So I created an OpenShot. OpenShot's a lot like Windows Movie Maker, I think it's called. I don't remember. Apple's got one also. So OpenShot's the same thing. It's basically you take clips and you take images and you take voiceovers and you take background music and titles and stuff like that, and you put it in on a timeline and you manipulate it, and you can fade in and fade out and pictures and not pictures, transitions and effects and stuff like that. All that's in OpenShot. So that's the one I use. It's a good program. It's not very solid, meaning that while I like it, I don't know that it's necessarily the best one out there because it keeps crashing. It's no big deal. I just save often, but full disclosure, it's a good piece of software. Might not be the best one out there. Okay, KDN Live is again from KDE. It does video. You can do broadcasting with it, if I remember correctly. Open Broadcaster Studios also, you can broadcast to Facebook. You can broadcast. It has a bunch of built-in options that you can stream to different things if you have accounts with them. And Open Broadcaster Studio, that's the one with the three swirly gig things. So you can see the background behind me. That's just a wall in a small room in my house. So what I had wanted to do is I wanted to set it up so that it's so that I put some sort of background behind me. In video, it's called green screening or blue screening. So I was working on it, but it's not so easy to do it in a way and then get it into Jigsaw. But I was working on it with Open Broadcaster Studio. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks or to a month, we'll have played around with it enough, and we can discuss how I did it, so that you see a background of me at the beach, or me in space, or me in some cyberpunk future thing. Anyway, okay, so that's video. Okay, it is. You play with stuff. The more you play, the more you learn, the more you teach yourself, and the cycle keeps going. Okay, so now we've looked at productivity, and we've looked at programming, and we've looked at multimedia stuff. Any programs what other programs have you encountered or that you've used with your friends that you can think of that program types or program paradigms? So we've looked at all different types of video and audio and everything like that. Like besides games, which I love games, and but I don't like playing them. I like the art. What other programs have you encountered in your years of using computers? What programs have you used when you're not in a Linux machine on your laptops, besides Chromium or besides Safari? Okay, I've actually never heard of that. What is that? Okay. In what language? In Swift or in Java? Okay. Cool. Okay, so I'm not an app developer. I played around with it a little bit, but not my thing. Okay, I'm sure that if we look for something in Discover, we'd be able to find an analog, or Xcode might even be available for Linux. Do you know if Xcode is available for Linux or not? Ah, okay. I'm surprised. Okay. Okay. Interesting. I would be curious to. Okay. I'd be curious to see if you could find a Linux equivalent for what Xcode is used for. Okay. Okay. So now a little bit less of the fun application getting stuff done, and more of the this is what we have to deal with as a reality in our day-to-day computing lives. So security. A big deal has been made over viruses, and we all know that because Windows has been so popular for so long, it is also the most susceptible to viruses. And Apple has less of a problem with it, and Linux has an order of magnitude less problem with it. So it's for every something like 1,000 or 3,000 viruses that are out there for Windows, there's like one for Linux, and it's outdated already anyway. So in case you are concerned about it, and there is still stuff that leaks in from websites and stuff like that, so there's an application called ClamAV, and it's an antivirus. It's antivirus software for Linux. There isn't really another one that I could think of when I was creating the slide. I was like what else is there besides ClamAV, and I didn't really come up with anything. It's there, it's available. If you want to install it, fine, but you're all on virtual machines anyway, so when you shut down and save state, the machine's inaccessible anyway, which is kind of cool. Backups. Everybody says backups. There are two types of people in this world. People who have never had a crash and haven't back up, and people who have had a crash and always back up. I am the latter. I've had a crash that has taken hard work away from me, and actually still have a hard drive that I need to get data off of. I haven't got around to it, but I do back up now, and I back up. I'm better about it, and I do recommend it for you. For me, that means backups to another computer in my house, so that if something happens to my primary laptop, which is what I'm on now, I know that I have my client information, and I have files, I have pictures from decades of having kids. Kind of important, especially since what's interesting is that 15 gigs is what Google Photos or your Google account offers. 15 gigs. When they started offering it, that didn't seem like a lot, but here we are years later, and people are rubbing up against the 15 gigabyte limit. People want to keep their pictures. They're going to have to pay Google money in order to back their stuff up. Okay. So there are other backup solutions. There's FW backups, there's Cloudberry Lab, Manda, Bacula, and again, these are all programs that will ask you what you want to save, where you want to save it, and how frequently you want to save it. If you are concerned, if you again you don't absolutely need to deal with it for class, but it is definitely something that is important for, especially since you guys are doing coding. You don't want to be in a place where all of a sudden all of your hard work is completely inaccessible. You can either use a Git repository, which backs it up to ostensibly the cloud, or you can back it up locally, and what you can do is you can, annoying is one word for it. It's a polite word, but not the only word. So you can, if you have an old computer. So this is also one of my hobbies. I have a few computers in my house, and one of them is my media server, and one of them is just my backup server, and they're just old computers. They are now old computers that I got. I don't think either of them are younger than 10 years old. I think these computers have been around for 10 years, and they run Linux, and they run Linux happily, and it's my home network is that I have a terabyte of storage space. I need to get more. I have a terabyte of storage space that I set up as a Linux computer, and I connect one Linux computer to another Linux computer, and I set it up to back up. And how do I do it? I use a program called rsync, which we will discuss in detail later on in a few sessions, because that's a command line program, or at least it's primarily a command line program, and it, for all intents and purposes, all these programs that are listed above it, they're all based on rsync for more or less, not exactly, but more or less. Rsync stands for remote sync, by the way. That's what the R stands for. But we will discuss rsync in greater detail in the future. Okay. And clicking on the screen share doesn't work. Okay. So now here are programs that you may not have ever concerned yourself with because you are students in school. That being said, Linux, the spectrum of programs that are available, that are out there, is phenomenal. If you go through Discover, you see that there's just categories and categories and stuff like that. So when we look, there's new cache. Again, new standing for is based on the license. It's the same as the license. A Brisby or J Nash. These are personal finance. Now, if you are a finance type young man or woman, if you're a woman watching this at some point, and you are interested in keeping track of your personal finances, there are these programs that are available in Linux for free. Now, for free versus the world standard is called QuickBooks, and they are very big and very popular and very good at what they do, and it's also very expensive if you want to keep track of your finances in the non-open source world. There's no reason for it. Accounting as a mathematical science is not a secret. There's no secret. Accounting is accounting. And all these programs do accounting the way you would expect it. Now again, you're not accountants, you're not bookkeepers. You may at some point have a business class that requires it, and either you're going to be told, well, use a free 30-day trial of QuickBooks and hurry up and get your work done. But that's not the only option. There are these other programs. Again, in the business world, reports, being able to display information in a way that people can understand it quickly is important important type of software. Again, there's expensive software like Crystal Reports that you pay a lot of money for, and it does the same thing as Jasper Reports or Pentaho. Again, what is out there is unbelievable. When you start looking at, when you start going through Discover and looking at all the different things, you'll see that there's a lot of scientific software available for, like, DNA sequencing and astronomy and stuff like that. And it's kind of weird. This is only a little bit of more general type of application software that have equivalents in the commercial world or in the Windows world or Windows Mac world. So the equivalent software here is being offered to the Linux community by the Linux community for the price of nothing. And it surprises me that it's not a bigger deal out in the world than it already is, because if you think about it, so if I have to start putting numbers on things, the Adobe Suite is, I think they have a per month of like $30 or $50 a month to use their software, and to buy it outright is close to $1,000. It's like even if you're doing a profession, it's crazy. So maybe you absolutely need some feature that is only available in Photoshop or only available in Illustrator, is not available in an open source equivalent. But show it to me, prove it to me. Anyway, so again, Mike, I'll repeat the question I've asked a couple of times. Is any type of software that you come across that you've experienced that? So let me skip a little into. So how do you find software if you're not sure? That's a good question. There are two places to find it. Okay, there's OSAlt for open source alternatives, or operating system alternatives. I think it's open source alternatives, and alternative2.net. And these are two websites that are maintained by people that, if you need software to handle a certain task, and you're either going to have to get it and pay for it, or get it and wait 30 days until your trial runs out, or you're going to get software that is cobbled in some sort of way that you can't use the full. I've downloaded software in the past that, I downloaded it and I do all the stuff, and they're like, oh, if you want to save your work, you're going to have to upgrade to the premium version. And I was like, wait, what? I just did all this work, and it's like, and they got you, and it just became very frustrating. That did not happen once, and I tried to get something done, and it failed on me. It's because it just didn't let me. Anyway, okay. So, all right. Again, I want to hear from you, and when you're watching this, also I want to hear from you. What software? What else is out there? What have you used? What do you want to use? What do you like? I'm really trying to get an understanding. I only have my own experiences. Okay, so interesting. Skype was bought by Microsoft. Microsoft and Skype worked on Linux fine, and then Microsoft bought it and made it horrible. So nobody uses Skype anymore. We use Google Hangouts. Because the truth is that for video and stuff like that, this classroom that we're in, this Jigsaw classroom that we're in, it's the beta version of they're moving to an HTML5 version, and HTML5 handles video. So like there's no need for Flash anymore, and there's no need for Skype had a proprietary way of handling video. So we don't need that anymore because the HTML5 standard provides us with video interface for the web. But okay, Skype was a good one. I mean, except for Microsoft buying it and making it bad. But you know, okay. Anything else? Anything that you've ever used? Any program that you've ever used? Yeah, I know it's tough. I mean, yes, I'm putting you a little bit on the spot, but you know, too bad. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, for homework. Okay, I want you to interview a parent, an older sibling, or a friend's parent. Get your parents' permission first, or their permission first. A grandparent, if you know they're still working, whatever. Determine the best alternative for the software they use most at work. That means you have to find out what they use at work, like names of programs that they use at work, and you don't have to make recommendations to them because that would be what we would call impertinent. But I want you to figure out, and I want you to prepare a 300-word report on the interview, the software that they use, and what replacement you would recommend to them. Okay? For bonus, do your report in the virtual machine, and double bonus if you install the software to write the report yourself. So look to LibreOffice, hint, hint, or KOffice, or AbiWord, or whatever you find that you would like to use. Okay? Okay. So, okay. Where are we up to? Alright, we have like 20 minutes or so. Let's see. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into my VirtualBox, and I'm going to see if I experience the same problem as you in installing Anki. And it's take about a minute to pop up. Let's close. Okay, let me do what you were doing, assuming that you did it, and I also have it. Okay. Okay, I'll close this to start. And close this. You can't see what I'm doing because you're not sharing. Give me a minute. Okay, and there. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip to flip. Come on, you can do this. There you go. And I want to see down. Okay, so now you can see my screen, right? Yes, you can see. Okay, good. You can. There's Jasper reports and Pentaho. If you interview somebody and they say they use Crystal reports, that would be the equivalent. And you also have to figure out if they're using it in a browser or if they're opening up a program on their desktop computer. That's kind of an important significance. Okay. I am in KDE Neon. I am opening up, and let's take a look at Discover. Okay, and I'm shutting off my webcam, trying to speed things up a little bit. Okay. We're going to get into this in the next class or two, but I'm just going to see if I can do this a little bit quicker because I just want to. Okay, so what you're seeing on my screen is I'm working on the command line, which we will start learning as soon as we come back. Next week is vacation week. We will not be meeting next Tuesday. It's Passover holiday, so Open Tent Academy is off. So what I'm doing is, what we're going to be doing for quite a while, almost the rest of the class, the rest of the course, is we're going to be working on the command line, because it is really the most powerful way that you can work with Linux. So what I've done is I've asked it to install Anki, but not using the Discover system because it was taking too long, which is fine. I mean, that's the way things go. So what I saw when I tried to install it, and I can't read, if you're typing, I can't read what you're saying. But when I tried to install it, it said, sure, no problem, I'll install it, but you have to install this, 300 other programs to go along with it, these libraries that I've been talking about. And okay, so I said yes, and now it is installing all the libraries that Anki needs to run. So what I'm going to do is, if I see that this is how I got it to work, I'm going to say okay, and okay. Okay, so now it says that, well, Anki is written in Python, just in case you're curious, and it says that distutil's spawn is not found. So now what I'm doing is I'm looking, and I want to figure out which one I need to install in order to get it to work. Okay, so the answer is going to be all of them. Get install Python setup tools. Okay, and I'm going to teach you this. So that's installing, and no, didn't like that one. Okay, let's try another one. Type. Okay, it's saying that it needed a dependency, and it's going to install that also. And now, haha! It worked! Ta-da! Because Linux. Okay, so I'm setting now. I'm gonna stop what I'm doing right now. Just give me a second. Gentlemen, please open up in your virtual machines. Please open up console, the terminal. Okay, so I want you to type in. Okay, so I want you to type in this command, sudo. That means super. And again, this is a little bit of a preview of what we're going to be working on in after next week. So that says do this. Sudo means do it as a super user. Apt-get means install. Apt-get is the install program, and it installs the command Python 3 -dist-utils. Dist-u. Okay. So I want you to type that H into your consoles, and when it prompts you, I want you to say yes. And I'm going to peek in. Alright, never mind. I'll just leave the screen share thing for now. Just let me know what's going on. While you're doing that, okay, never mind, you do that. Okay, okay, I want to see your, I'm unlocking screen share, and I want to see what you're seeing. Okie doke. Okay, Ellis, type in Anki and see if it works. Okay, I cannot see. Your screen is like really small. Wait, don't check it all over. All right, else is working. Cyrus, that's it. We're getting this to work. Absolutely, this details. Okay, Control C to control. Wait, what? I still can't. Can you? Is there any way to make your screen bigger? Because I'm just seeing it as like tiny. Yeah, it's still tiny. Okay, so I want you to type in this sudo sudo. Okay, apt -get install space -- reinstall ANKI. Hit enter. Okay, type in Anki, yeah. Okay, let's try this. Close the window. Okay, and Control C or something. Okay, sudo apt-get purge space Anki. Yes. Okay, now hit the up arrow, and again, and again. Okay, take out reinstall. Okay, enter. And type yeah, see if it runs. And Control C. Type in apt sudo apt -get update. Alright, now scroll up to the, up. Yeah, go up a couple more. No, no. Yeah, enter. Nope, yeah. Enter. No, that's not. It's not gonna work. I don't know, like I had a whole bunch of. Okay. Can you copy that error? Well, yeah, can you copy that error? Can you paste it into the chat, or did we not set it up? Doesn't paste? I can't read it, it's just so small. Okay. Try Control C and Control V. Or try right clicking on it and there you go. Awesome. I know it's got to be something simple and stupid, but Okay. Yeah, I know. Okay, so this is a known problem. Uh, um, okay, we're gonna end the class. I'm going to. Okay, so actually going to here. And we installed this utils, right? I hate when it works on. You know what? I'm gonna try this and see if I break it. Oh, I get it also. Hooray! Okay. Well, now I'm showing the same error on my VirtualBox, which means I'm going to have to. I'm gonna have to do some I'm gonna have to do some research on this. I'll report back and see if I can get some clarity on this. And don't worry about it for now. Which also means that I'm going to pause, and there is a quiz, but don't take the quiz because I wanted you to study out of the Anki deck that I created and I posted. We don't have that. So I will see you not next Tuesday, but the Tuesday following, where we will go much further, in a much more organized way into the world of the command line interface. Have a great couple of weeks, and if you have any questions, if you solve a problem, kudos to you, and let me know. No, Ella shouldn't do the quiz. Nobody should do the quiz until I've been able to sort this out and create and provide a solution for this. All right? You're welcome. Bye. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.